So, Auzubillah min shaitanir rajeem, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you all for coming. I know it's summer holidays have started, so it's very hard to take time out for this sort of subject. And I offered to Sister Louise and Brother Fraz that if you want me to come back during the school year, maybe like at noon before Zohar, I was just thinking that might work better for the level 7 classes. So it just might be the better way to do it. So I want to go ahead and get started here and maybe ask the students in the room, those who are considering mechanical engineering or even thinking about it, maybe just tell me a little bit about yourself. So, yes? Sorry? Okay. 6th grade, okay. Okay, middle school, Dallas Middle School.
My name is I'm still in 9th grade.
9th grade?
I want to know about it, so.
Okay, very good, very good.
My name is Heather, and I'm going to be a sophomore.
Sophomore, mashallah. Very good. And you? Ilam. And what grade? Senior. Okay. Well, yeah.
And I'm going to be a junior.
Junior. Okay. Very good. Well, so I think at any grade, did I miss anybody? No. So at any grade, I think it's good to start thinking about it, whether you're in senior and coming to maybe a point of decision making versus 6th grade, because there's a lot to think about in choosing a career. So let me talk through this, and I would encourage you at any point ask questions. Yeah. So just a little bit about myself. So I'm originally from Pakistan, but I actually have spent less than a year there in my life. I spent most of my childhood in Hong Kong and Beijing, China, and I've been there also as part of my job. And so I'm 52 years old. I've lived less than 1 year in Pakistan, about 19 years in China, and the rest in the States. So I'm kind of a mix of everything. School. So I went to a school not too far from here, Iowa State University. I did my bachelor's and master's probably before many of you were born, including maybe even Faraz here. But I did my bachelor's and master's in aerospace engineering. It is a very cool field. So back in the 90s, this is the time when there was still the space shuttle, and it was relatively exciting to go to space and everything. So I studied aerospace engineering. I studied how to design rockets, so I was a rocket scientist. But I was not a US resident or citizen, and so getting a job without those qualifications is impossible. So I ended up doing another degree in mechanical engineering, and I started at Caterpillar, and that's where I've been my whole career. Yeah. So in mechanical engineering, as you get closer to that point, you'll start learning a little bit more about what it is. And it is pretty much the design, development of everything you have. Even things like a computer, a projector, you might not think is part of mechanical engineering, but much of its design work, much of its development is done by a mechanical engineer. Typically, mechanical engineers are divided into 3 sections. So for those who are closer to thinking about college, when you think about mechanical engineering, there's the first piece is, what is the design? How does it look like? Now, back in the old days, you used to do it in drawing paper, etc., but now it's all computer-aided design. And pretty much everything is done. I mean, if you've watched any movies or just even did Google computer-aided design, that is how you would design a part. The design itself doesn't take much to do. It's how to design it and what are the elements of the design. If I was going to create, and I'll make the simplest thing, like the leg of that chair, of that table, okay? There's not, you start off with, you don't think it's too much to design. It's a simple, it's got two prongs to it. It's got a support to it. A mechanical engineer will try to figure out what is the cheapest way to make it best looking and serve the function. And the primary function for this leg is to be able to hold the load. Okay? If I would sit on it, can it bear the huge amount of weight? Okay? So that is the key piece. But you'll see also there's elements to it, like this little flippery switch thing. It's to prevent it from collapsing on itself. So I push it this way. I won't do it because I don't want it to fall apart. Will the leg swing in and collapse on itself, which is a safety risk? Okay? So a mechanical engineer in their design We'll consider all these elements and design that leg of that table. That's the simplest piece. You know, if you imagine a car, you might be designing the engine, the door, you might be designing the transmission. If you think of a bridge, the steel structures within it, pretty much everything will have an element of design. The next thing is, once you've come up with a first piece of design, and this is what Sister Tien does day in and day out, right, is analysis, okay? Analysis is basically, before you build it, will it work, right? So I design that table, I design the leg, I'm going to do some basic math to say, can it handle that load? Will it survive, or will it break apart? Or do I need to make the legs a little bit wider, or a different type of metal? Aluminum versus steel versus some sort of gray iron of source. So that's really the simulation or analysis, both terms are used, is how will it perform in theory, okay? Test, not so complicated. It's basically how will it perform in real. By that time, you've already committed to the design, you build it, you analyzed it, I think it'll do. And then typically, you will do a test to see will it break or not. You know, and the test is usually one of two things. Will it perform as well as we expect? So you design a car, and you say it's going to go from 0 miles per hour to 60 in 10 seconds. That's very slow. Okay. 6 seconds. The test is, will it get from 0 to 60? So that's a performance test. Or durability. If I was to take this leg again, open and close it and fold it 1,000 times, because we have so many community dinners, will it survive, right? Will it survive? If not, then it failed the design, you go back to the beginning. Now, these are kind of the three broad areas of mechanical engineering, but pretty much every mechanical engineer, eventually he or she will do what's called project or program management. Okay? And I will step back and say, almost every career you choose, whether you chose an accounting or law or mechanical engineering, much of your career is about being organized. I need to do X. And X is, let me take as an example. I'm going to do a community dinner. There's an element of organizing that community dinner. Who do I need to talk to? Where do I order the food? When do I get the table set up? You know, who will do the cleaning? That's essentially a project. And pretty much everything you will do in your career is going to be a project. If you were going to audit a firm's taxes, you'd think that's an accounting job, but it's basically a project. Talk to the firm, gather the data, analyze it, you know, do the legal review, submit the paperwork. That's an audit. It's a project. So almost everybody in their career will do project management. So if today, in kind of just your basic daily life, if you can manage projects of your own, a project might be, you know, I want to buy a car and I need to save up some money for it, and I'm going to do these 10 things to do it. That's a project. You know, if you can do that well, pretty much any career you want, you can do well. That's it. So one thing is, it's rarely what you study is what you do in your career. I studied to be an aerospace engineer, didn't do a single day's worth of aerospace engineering. You know, even the mechanical engineering I studied, I didn't do much of it. You know, I did, when I was in school, I did study on computer graphics, which is kind of before Pixar came up with Toy Story. So I worked on the algorithms that were used eventually by Pixar for Toy Story. Nothing to do with mechanical engineering, nothing to do with Caterpillar. It's just the way it is. What you learn to do in school is how to learn. You learn how that you will learn every day of your life something new. So I'll speak a little bit about my career, just more as a level set, and to emphasize the point that there is no such thing as one mechanical engineering job or career. So I've been at Caterpillar 28 years. So I came to Peoria November 6th of 1994. Pretty much, I think, Sister Louise, were you here before me? No. So I don't. There's only a few people in Peoria that are still in our community. Brother Mia Ali, Mazlum Bhai, Mahmoud Mizyad. I think those are like the only people who are here before me, and that's it. So I've been in CAT a long time. Caterpillar is a wonderful company to work for. It has its challenges. But within the company, I've had 7 very unique careers, where the day I started my next job, I barely knew anything, you know. So it speaks to the diversity. So I started off my career, all those degrees, didn't matter, I was writing software. I was writing at the time a language called Fortran. For those who know coding, now it's C and then C++ is where I stopped. I used to write about 1 million lines of code every year, and I would essentially develop software that would help with the analysis tools. So Sister Tian still uses, I think, Dynasty, right?
Which one?
Dynasty?
Oh, Dynasty.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I wrote Dynasty when it started. I have the patent for the algorithm behind it, and that was the tool I was using, I was developing, that at the time 400 or 500 engineers at Caterpillar would use. Yeah. So that was my first 10 years of my career, was just writing code. Back then, I was an introvert. So my administrative assistant, the lady who helped our team, at the time I was 20, she was 50. I was so shy that if I wanted to ask her for pencil or a simple thing, I would send her an email. This is in the early 90s. I would never, ever get up, talk to anybody. Only after getting married did I have a little bit more confidence. So back then, I loved being a coder, even to the point that I used to go to work late at 10 a.m. and work till 10 p.m. at night, because 4 to 10 p.m., nobody was in the office. The lights were even on. I just had my computer monitor, I just coded. I was the ultimate nerd. The thing I realized then was actually I'm good at working with people. I'm good at talking to people. And what I can do is limited by my hours in the day, but I can do a lot more if I can build a team, if I can tell 10 other people what to do. So first career, nothing to do really with mechanical engineering. So I moved from writing the code to using the code, and I became a manager of a team. It was first about 6 people, then grew to 20, then it was about 40, that basically people who used my software to analyze and develop what are cooling systems. So if you were to open the hood of your car, right in the front, there'll be something called a radiator. It's got a big plastic fan behind it. That's what keeps the car's engine cool. If that fan breaks, your engine will die, your car will die. So that's a car. For Caterpillar machines, we might have multiple fans. We'll have many, many coolers because we have a huge, complex system. So I worked on that, developing new engine, new technology. One of the opportunities I got while doing this was I did a good job of it in the US. They sent me to China to establish a new team and work on it there. So I worked there in 3 years, 3.5 years in China doing that. That was actually, sorry, this one. So I went over and started doing design. So instead of writing software, using the software to analyze, basically build it. Build new cooling modules, build new design, get to work with a lot of different suppliers. This basically became much more commercial, less engineering, more about getting somebody to do things for us. So those were kind of my first 3. Then I went into, I mentioned program management. So every 20 years, yeah, roughly, every 20 years, Caterpillar says we're going to design a brand new